We're going to take telephone calls, by the way, about seeds and questions you have about your yards and how to make them look more attractive at 271-4321. We welcome your telephone call. One of the questions, I guess, about seeds. Now, I'm going to flip through this catalog as I ask this question. Look at the wonderful things that are available. We can get seeds from all kinds of sources. Some are very, very inexpensive. Are those going to be as good a final product as the little more expensive seeds that we'll buy?
Actually, when you go through the catalog and you find that there's a lot of hybrid seeds, there's a lot of inexpensive seeds, there's a number of ways that they can do this. One, always watch to see how much is in the package itself. Quite often you can go to the store and find that you pay 10 or 15 cents for a package and you actually get less seed for your money than if you paid 45 or 50 cents for it.
Okay, so we're going to look at the net weight to compare there.
Right. And then the other thing, we find a lot of the new hybrids do so much better job for us than what they ever had any of the other varieties. And the other thing is you should always have to watch your germination, and the better quality seeds are going to germinate better than the others that aren't. So you have to know where you're getting it from so that you're sure you're getting a good product.
Okay, you could talk on and on about seeds and the appropriate landscaping and so forth, but one question that maybe I'll ask you to give me some brief comments on: how do you make a yard look just absolutely splendid and lovely?
Oh, I think it's a lot of fun, and what you have to start out with really is in the spring of the year. You start out with your tulips and your hyacinths and your daffodils. Your aconite, the first thing in the spring, you have these little yellow flowers coming through the snow. And then as you go in, you have your different shrubs like your forsythia and your different honeysuckles. And this will bring into the spring where you have your flowering trees like your flowering crabs. You have your China rose trees. This will give you a lot of spring color. And then today the perennials seem to be very popular, and perennials are very good, but you have to remember perennials blossom for a much shorter time than what the other plants do. So I always advise them to use perennials. It's good, but at the same time always leave room for your annuals, because your annuals will give you a lot more color all summer long.
The annual is the one that comes up every year?
No, the one you plant every year.
I always mess myself up on that.
Right. The annual comes up every year. You plant them from seed or you start them in the house. And actually people think it's real hard to start seeds in the house, but it isn't. All it does is just a little common sense and good planning and a nice place to plant. And you can grow your plants in the house very easily. Yeah,
but you've got two green thumbs. Most of us would be lucky to have one. Gene has a question for us. Go ahead. How can we help you?
Firstly, you got to use young seeds to have a good green thumb.
I'm sure Tuenis enjoyed that comment.
That's the best I've heard.
But what I'd like to know, what is a good fertilizer for winter onions?
For winter onions?
Yeah.
I tell you, on all onions as a whole, you should use a lot of nitrogen on your onions. And when you're growing onions, you should be sure to take and not cover them with soil. So you plant your onions, and after you plant them, they'll kind of grow partly out of the ground. Fertilize them heavy with a high nitrogen fertilizer, and then when you're cultivating, don't cover up your onions. You leave them grow where they want to, and you'll find you'll have much better success with it.
Great. Next, Edith, your question.
I've got a problem with irises, with the rot.
Well, one of the main things with iris when you have rot in them is that they're planted too deep. You should always have the rhizome so that the top of the rhizome is always exposed to the sunlight, and this will help a lot. The other thing you should do in the fall of the year is always to take the old leaves off, because this is where a lot of the borer will winter over, in the old leaves. And so take all these old leaves off and burn them.
Pull them off or cut them off? What?
Usually cut them off right after it freezes. They're very easy to take off, take them out and burn them.
Just about to ground level?
Right at ground level, right.
All right. Next up, we have Ann. Hello.
Hi. I'm one of these people that lives in an apartment, and I would like to plant a tomato plant in the corner of my balcony.
Okay. Which
means that I'm not at ground level. I'm at second floor level. How would I go about doing that?
Well, the main thing to do is watch the soil that you're planting them in, because the soil that you plant them in is very important. And I always recommend when we're planting in either a tub or a planter to use half peat moss and half good soil. And then you can get some long-lasting fertilizer and mix it in with the soil and plant it in there. And be sure it's out in the sunlight where it's a little bit protected from all the high winds, and you have no trouble at all growing these things in pots.
Are there some tomatoes that are going to do better in that condition than others?
I would take the lower growing tomatoes would be the better ones to use. The taller ones you're going to have to stake up. You're going to have any success at all.
All right, that's our time. Thanks so much to Tuenis for being with us. We'll return with more Midday. Please stay tuned.